Welcome back. This presentation is called The Grand Pageant in the Heavens. You are viewing the fifth video in this series, and this will be the third constellation group on the ecliptic according to the Hebrew Mazaroth. The research studies and conclusions are my own and are not official doctrine of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. In this section, we will discover what the constellation group of Scorpio seems to be teaching. Scorpio is visible all night every May and June. Jupiter was in this constellation essentially from the 11th of October 2018 through November 4th of 2019. The two patriarchs assigned to Scorpio are pre-flood. It is Enos, whose name means mortal, suffering, and afflicted. Of the 12 tribes, it is Dan. His name means he is judged and punished. For example, Genesis 49:17 is very clear. It says, quote, "Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path, that biteth the horse's heels, so that his rider shall fall backward. I have waited for thy salvation, O Lord," end quote. Interestingly, this is the only constellation on the ecliptic that Jupiter does not enter into the main subject of the group, namely Scorpio himself. Instead, Jupiter spent the year retrograding in Ophiuchus, one of Scorpio's decans who is representative of Christ. Scorpio represents Satan as our enemy. The scorpion has the ability to inflict the most intense pain of any other creature on earth. One of Scorpion's claws has hold of the Libra scales, seeking to overthrow the good. His stinger is up and poised for attack, as Satan sought to fatally sting Christ's heel through the crucifixion, not realizing that he had just sealed his own defeat. Two of the nearby decans both show Christ with a foot raised as though he had been stung. Satan's folly allowed Christ and all who follow him to put Satan under their feet or authority. Scorpio signifies the fulfillment of Genesis 3 verse 15, wherein the seed of the woman, who is Christ, will triumph over and crush the head of the serpent, the Antichrist. In Arabic, this constellation is also called Al-Aqrab, which means not only scorpion, but also stands for wounding, conflict, and war. And in the picture, you will often see depicted in the stars with Ophiuchus with one foot standing on the head of the scorpion. The first decan of Scorpio is Serpens the serpent. Supposedly, this is the original serpent who beguiled Eve with lies. He is caught in the Christ figure that the Greeks called Ophiuchus, and in his mighty grasp, where this serpent has no chance of winning, even though he is still in the act of trying to snatch Christ's crown. This serpent also signifies all those in that brood of vipers that hate Christ and follow their evil spiritual father, Satan. This is also the same serpent that is at the feet of Virgo, and may be the one mentioned in Revelation 12. The second decan of Scorpio is Ophiuchus, the serpent holder. Anciently, this constellation was called Aesculapius, the god of healing. This big constellation, hovering over Scorpio, represents a mighty man that is wrestling with and subduing Serpens or Satan, using both hands. This mighty man is Christ. One of his feet is over Scorpio's head, just as the third decan, Hercules' foot, is over Draco's head, in mimicry of the feet of Christ that will one day crush the head of Satan and all who follow him. His other foot is raised as though he had just been stung by Scorpio. Ophiuchus is known also as the physician and healer. I think of the serpent holder when I remember President Hinckley saying in April 1994 conference, quote, "We have nothing to fear. God is at the helm. He will overrule for the good of this work. Satan cannot do more than the Lord allows," end quote. This decan is also called the Great Physician and represents Christ in his role as the healer. The known stars are Rasalhag, which means head of the serpent holder, and Sabik, which is the preceding one. The third decan of Scorpio is Hercules, the mighty man, anciently called Heracles, which name means glory. Like Ophiuchus, this mighty man, clothed in a lion's skin, is Christ, the Lion of Judah. Here, he is a victorious warrior raising a club to hit the three-headed Hydra, which is yet another representation of Satan, on the head, as he raises his foot to crush the head of Draco the dragon, who also represents Satan in his most beguiling and malevolent form. In Romans 16, verse 20, it says, quote, "And the God of peace shall bruise Satan under your feet shortly," end quote. Notice his right foot is raised as though it had been stung by Scorpio. This constellation was worshipped by the Phoenicians as a savior, the meaning thought to descend from the Chaldeans 4,000 years earlier. In all ancient customs and cultures, Hercules is depicted as a God-begotten man who was tasked with overthrowing all the great evil powers represented by the three-headed Hydra in his hand. The three most invasive sins are sexual perversions, abuse of money, and power seekers, and he is in the process of clubbing that three-headed monster. The stars are significant. Ras al-Gethi means the head of him who bruises, and Ras al-Makus means the branch, kneeling, and the branch is yet another reference that this is Jesus Christ. There were 3 Saturn strikes in 2019. Saturn strike number 5 occurred on January 13th by Mercury, and the church happenings correlating with this strike was number 1, on the 2nd of January, we had the lifting of the veil. On January the 6th, the 2-hour meeting schedule commenced, and also the Come Follow Me program was initiated for Sunday school and personal study, also on the 6th. Saturn strike number 6 occurred on February the 18th of 2019 by Venus. Church happenings. The church initiated weekly adjustments outside of general conferences as needed. And about 3 weeks after the strike, the Rome, Italy temple was dedicated on March 10th of 2019, with all 12 apostles attending, possibly a step in the giant chiasmus and the closing of the Day of the Gentiles. And then note that the 10 days of awe, ending with the Feast of Atonement, that during this time from September 30th through October 9th of 2019, and right during General Conference, we had the introduction to the new Children and Youth program on September 29th, and then more instruction followed a week later at General Conference on October 5th and 6th. There were changes made to the Temple Recommend interview, and 5 new temples were announced. Saturn strike number 7 occurred on December the 10th of 2019. Some of the church happenings associated with this one is that on the 10th, the exact day, the location of 3 new temples that had been announced in conference was announced. And then on the 29th of December 2019, the Salt Lake and other pioneer-era temples closed for renovation. So, taken all together, the Scorpio constellation group could be teaching us that Christ, through the power of his righteous atonement, has with mighty power successfully held back Satan from carrying out his nefarious plans. Even though Satan wounded Christ, the Messiah, in his heel, and knows that he has lost the war, yet he seeks dominion over the kingdom of Christ and power over the children of our Father. But Christ is the mighty man, the Lion of Judah, who will crush Satan and his evil devices for destroying the children of men in all the ways that he seeks to deceive and destroy. This Christ will do in preparation for his coming. All of this is setting up for something huge as his second coming approaches. Scorpio of 2019 was an amazing year. In the next segment, next segment number 6, we will see what we can learn from the Sagittarius constellation group. Thank you for watching.